Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Tales of Herding God Part 159 based on novel. So let's start. After improving my Tao heart, I have obtained numerous comprehensions I have never thought possible before. However, my training has ended, it's time for me to leave eternal peace. Xu Xinghua raised his head to look at the sky and said, "There are still many unsolved mysteries in my heart waiting for my attention. I need to find the answers to those mysteries. The gods of high heavens have practically all died, so why aren't you returning to high heavens? Now that there's no leader, you should go back to take charge of the general situation." "I'm not going back," Xu Xinghua said. "High heavens is known under such a name, but it's merely a void. The people there can't make their own decisions and can't lead their own lives. They are just the dogs of true gods. As a flower blooming from the void, I need to find my own path. Brother Qin, my training in eternal peace has ended, and I want to go to great ruins to find the answers to the secrets that still elude me." "What about your training?" Qin Mu was stunned, but he suddenly smiled. "My training has just begun." They walked more and more weirdly, and stumbled all the way to the dock. When they reached it, the two of them smacked their palms out and the waves in the river suddenly overflowed into the sky. Wind rose and clouds surged as lightning crisscrossed in the surroundings. Qin Mu laughed loudly and grabbed the other's palm tightly. Their shoulders collided. The two of them let go, and Xu Xinghua brought Jing Yang aboard the ship. He turned his head back and smiled. "I've lost to you the previous time, and it's going to stay with me all the time. When I return, let's see who is the Alpha and Beta Overlord bodies." Qin Mu smiled. "You are definitely the Beta and I'm the Alpha." Xu Xinghua laughed loudly and waved his hand before leading Jing Yang into the hold of the ship. Qin Mu raised his head as the flying ship gradually rose, bringing them far away, and vanishing into the clouds. The radiant sun was dazzling and Qin Mu looked away, his gaze returning to the stone statue that overlooked the capital. There were numerous foolish people offering incense and prayers to it, hoping that it would bless them. No one knew the deeds of the benevolent, they were nameless. Village chief, Tuxing Feng, and the rest had died to save these people, yet no one knew and no one offered them incense and prayers. On the other hand, the stone statues, which had come to destroy the world, were surrounded by incenses. How ironic. Xu Xinghua was right, the people of Eternal Peace Empire will be born, will grow old, will get sick and will die. They will all become sacrifices to the stone statues and allow the true gods to accumulate power until they can revive themselves. Qin Mu walked toward the capital. The fierce fight over God-broken mountain range, and the lives of numerous strong practitioners, were merely just to drag out the time. Sooner or later, the stone statues would awaken from the sacrifices of the foolish people, and use their power to wipe out the whole mortal realm. What I need to do is to make Imperial Preceptor's reform become even more spread. The fire has to burn even more fiercely in the hot oil. We shall await the day these stone statues awaken. It was time for Imperial College to choose Imperial scholars again. The selection was very great in scale. Tens of thousands scholars from the whole world had hurried to the capital. The Emperor and Imperial Preceptor had personally come to Imperial College. There was also Daoist Lin Xian of Dao Sect, Rulai Ma of Great Thunderclap Monastery, Hermit Qingyu of Little Jade Capital, and Qin Mu as Heavenly Devil Cult Master as well. Emperor Yangfeng saw that there were too many scholars flooding into Imperial College, and suggested to open other academies, to split the responsibility of Imperial College. He founded River Tomb Academy, Surging River Academy, Li River Academy, and Heavenly Saint Academy. The scholars from all lands could take examinations for the 4 big academies. They choose their people to learn paths, skills, and divine arts, and those who succeeded in their studies would later be able to enter the imperial court, or become officials. Heavenly Devil Cult had taken the name Heavenly Saint Academy, and as the cult master, Qin Mu became the first Grand Chancellor, which promoted him to the 4th rank. For such a matter, Qin Mu worked hard for a time to set Heavenly Saint Academy at the manor where Granny Sai lived. Only when it was scorching summertime was Heavenly Saint Academy prepared. All kinds of educational establishments were built and talents from all over the land attracted. The disciples of Heavenly Devil Cult's school hall became the first batch of Heavenly Saint scholars. Qin Mu also invited Xiong Xiu and Yu Jiaoqing to come and teach. He also asked Dao Master Lin Xian, Rulai Ma, Hermit Qingyu, and Fox Immortal to come to hold lectures from time to time, which made Heavenly Saint Academy truly extraordinary. On that day, Imperial Preceptor came to visit and asked, Grand Chancellor's Heavenly Saint Academy is pretty bustling and energetic. Qin Mu smiled. Heavenly King doesn't visit me without a cause, so what are you here for this time? Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor paused for a moment before saying, I'm preparing to wipe out high heavens, but I need to scout the roads of West Earth first. I need a person who is familiar with West Earth. Qin Mu was slightly stunned, but he soon called Xiong Xiu. Does Palace Master want to reclaim true Heaven Palace of West Earth? Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor went straight to the point. Xiong Xiu was surprised and delighted. True Heaven Palace has been seized by traitors, so does Imperial Preceptor have confidence in assisting me in snatching it back? Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor nodded and said, I want to take a trip to High Heavens to prevent future troubles. High Heavens is in West Earth, so I can help you reclaim true Heaven Palace on the way. Qin Mu's heart moved slightly as he looked towards Xiong Xiu. She gritted her teeth and said, after Eternal Peace raises the snow plains and the prairie, he will launch his army on West Earth sooner or later. For there to be fewer wars, I'm willing to submit to Eternal Peace. In that case, Palace Master can go prepare, we will set off in the next few days. Does Cult Master want to go? We'll be going to West Earth not for war, but to scout the way, and Cult Master can help. Qin Mu hesitated for a moment as Xiong Xiu looked at him pleadingly. He then smiled and said, it's good to go to West Earth as well. I have a promise with Poisoner Muing Xue, who had asked me to find her. However, before that, I need to summon some souls in Great Ruins. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor was slightly stunned, then nodded. In that case, Palace Master and I will set off first. If you meet that person, thank him for me and do pay half of the respect owed a master. Qin Mu nodded. Qin Mu was the Grand Chancellor of Heavenly Saint Academy, so before he left, he handed over his duties to another person. Most of the scholars of Heavenly Saint Academy were from Heavenly Devil Cult, as well as numerous directorates. Even if Qin Mu wasn't there would be no problem, so he had no worries. He passed dragon rearing scriptures to Sai Yunxiang to find people to take care of the flood dragons. They only eat spirit pills, but different breeds want different kinds of spirit pills, Qin Mu instructed. I have written down the types and the amount needed, Saintess, don't forget, if they don't listen to you, find Linga. She can subdue these flood dragons. Sai Yunxiang smiled. With dragon rearing scriptures, how can I be inferior to the little fox? Aren't you going to bring a few flood dragons to protect yourself? Isn't the little fox following you too? Linga went to learn spells from Fox Immortal, so she won't be going with me. I'm just going to West Earth to scout the land, so there won't be any danger. Qin Mu gave a few more instructions, and took leave from Granny Sai and the rest. Just as he was prepared to have the Dragon Chalene start on the journey, he saw a 5 to 6 years old girl sitting beside it. Sister Chia, aren't you going to West Earth with Nai Kuei? Qin Mu asked with puzzlement. Xiong Chia shook her head. Mother told me to follow you. She doesn't really trust Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor, that he doesn't have a human touch. He can sacrifice everything just to achieve his goal, and he's made it hard for her to trust him. Your mother sure is thoughtful. It's good to follow me as well. Imperial Preceptor and her objective this time are quite great, so it'll be much safer for you to follow me instead. Qin Mu picked Xiong Chia up and jumped onto the dragon Chilene's back. Fatty Dragon, set off. The dragon Chiline immediately sprung forward and rose into the air with the fire clouds. Cult Master, I keep feeling that the taste of Scarlet Fire Spirit pills is wrong these days. Did you change them? Qin Mu shook his head. Fatty Dragon, stop being paranoid. If I changed the spirit pills, could you not taste the difference? The dragon Chiline was skeptical while Xiong Chia said in astonishment, Fatty Dragon is much faster compared to last time. Your tummy isn't as big as before too. Her suspicion increased the suspicion in the dragon Chiline's heart. Although he had peeled open the spirit pills every time he ate them to see if Qin Mu had done something, he hadn't found anything out of the ordinary. Qin Mu smiled. He had improved Scarlet Fire Spirit pills and Fire Element Divine Vitality pills. The taste was almost the same as that of Scarlet Fire Spirit pills, just a little bit spicier. The dragon Chiline could taste something wrong, but he couldn't tell what it was. The dragon Chiline's speed was much faster than it was in the past, and his endurance was much greater as well. After 2-3 days, they reached Great Ruins. Qin Mu found Moon's ship according to his memory, and village chief's stone statue was not far from it. Qin Mu couldn't help being astonished when he saw two families actually having built themselves homes there. The two families had to have noticed the stone statue that could withstand the darkness, and had come to live by its side. When they saw Qin Mu riding a monster that looked like a dragon, but was not a dragon, a Chiline that was not a Chiline, they couldn't help becoming nervous. Two young hunters took up military pitchforks, and stood guard outside the door while their young wives looked out from behind them. Qin Mu stopped and brought Xiong Chia off the dragon Chiline's back. He greeted the two people and the two hunters returned it. Are you a mountain bandit, or a robber? I'm just a passerby, coming to see my old friend. Don't worry, I mean no harm. Qin Mu came to stand in front of village chief's stone statue, and placed a livestock offering. This is the elder of my family, and I'm here to pay my respects to him. If he saw that his broken body could still protect you guys, he would definitely be very happy. He paid his respects and executed Soul Guide. The clouds instantly turned dark and gloomy while the darkness surged. Soul Guide worked for a moment and numerous skeletons appeared outside the village, but village chief's stone statue did not come to life. Not long later, Qin Mu's magic power was nearly exhausted. He was about to disperse Soul Guide, when village chief's stone statue suddenly moved and spat out a few gold coins while speaking, Mua, on Ghost Festival, the night of the full moon, I'll be waiting for you at the gates of hell. When he finished talking, he returned back to stone. Qin Mu picked up the golden coins, which were 8 Fengdu coins. The villagers in the surroundings were bewildered. Qin Mu turned around to thank the people and left them some money. May everyone here help me clean the stone statue frequently so it wouldn't get dirty. When he was done, he turned around to leave. The people looked at his back, and a young woman suddenly woke up from her daze. She suddenly cried out, "Look at the appearance of that youth, doesn't he look like that heavenly god who drove the ship that night? He indeed looks alike. When that huge ship passed by our village that night, I saw that heavenly god on the ship, and it looked exactly like him," another woman cried out in astonishment. "Don't talk nonsense. He's merely a youth and is even younger than us, so how could he be the heavenly god of that ship?" a hunter said. Qin Mu brought Xiong Chia to the dragon Chiline and they rode to the west, resting only during night time. They passed by the basin of West Heaven Palace, and observed its ruins before leaving. After 10 or so, they finally came to the most western part of Great Ruins. There was also a mountain range, its snowy white peaks cutting off Great Ruins, in that direction. There's also a God-broken mountain range here. Qin Mu rode the dragon Qilin to one peak, and a thick arrow, that was like a beam suddenly came from a mysterious pearl crossbow, raising the wind and snow in a split second. The dragon Qilin raised his claws and caught that arrow. At that, he couldn't help jumping in shock and crying out, "Cult Master, I've become stronger." Qin Mu looked at the surroundings, and saw huge mysterious pearl crossbows operating automatically, adjusting their direction. He then immediately shouted, "Fatty dragon, run quickly." Twang! The power of the mysterious pearl crossbows burst forth, and heavy snow came incessantly along with the bolts. The dragon Qilin immediately leaped as though he was flying, sprinting to the other side of the mountain. Incomparably thick bolts whisked behind them and transformed into pillars of ice, while more of them came shooting over. The dragon Qilin gave a loud roar, and the flames behind him overflowed into the sky. With the dense fire clouds, the flames burned the bolts. However, there were still numerous ice bolts that had not melted and rushed straight for them. While clutching a sword technique in his hand, Qin Mu jolted, and 8,000 swords flew into the sky, slicing countless ice bolts apart. The dragon Qilin sprinted down the mountain, and bolts behind him were like the rain. Only when he rushed down the mountain did the onslaught stop. Qin Mu let out a sigh of relief, before heat waves assaulted him in the face. He looked forward and saw a vast desert, which went as far as his eyes could see. The flames in the desert were blazing, burning the sky till it turned fire red. Qin Mu turned back, seeing the snowy mountains behind himself. After crossing this flaming desert, we will reach West Earth, Xiong Chia said in a loud and clear voice. West Earth is right behind it. Qin Mu was puzzled. Why is there such a flaming desert between West Earth and Great Ruins? Where does the fire come from? My mother said that these flames were lit up by gods to block the abandoned people of Great Ruins from running out. Xiong Chia suddenly jumped into the flames, shocking Qin Mu. She ran around them with a smile. The flames here won't hurt me, for they will only burn the abandoned people of Great Ruins. To us, the flames aren't hot at all. However, to the abandoned people of Great Ruins, the fire is extremely dangerous. I've heard my mother say that if the abandoned people of Great Ruins were to enter the desert, flame markings would appear on the heart of their brows, showing their identity as an abandoned person. The higher the status of the abandoned person, the more flames would show up. Qin Mu stretched out his hand to touch the flames and he felt a sharp pain. He immediately pulled his hand back, but his fingertips were still burning. He hurriedly extinguished the fire and frowned. The flaming desert was indeed an incomparably dangerous place to the people of Great Ruins. If they went in, they would definitely be burned to death. Chia, come up. Qin Mu's vital chi flew out and swept up the girl, which was running around, throwing her onto the dragon Qilin's back. Imperial Preceptor and Palace Master left a few days earlier than us, so we can't stay around here for long, fatty dragon. Big brother, what happened to your face? Xiong Chia suddenly asked. Qin Mu looked at her with bewilderment. What's wrong with my face? There are many markings on your face. Xiong Chia cried out in astonishment. The markings are even wiggling and more of them are coming out. Are you sick? That's right, Big Brother is an abandoned person of Great Ruins, but there are just too many flame markings on your face. In disbelief, Qin Mu located the mirror apothecary had given to him in a hurry. He took a look at and saw that there were indeed numerous green and red markings on his face. They were twisted but distributed evenly across his face. He ripped open his collar and saw numerous green and red markings on his chest as well. He stretched out his palm and saw that the markings were even on his wrist, slowly spreading to the back and front of his palm. Qin Mu threw open his shirt, and more mirrors flew out from his Dao Tai sack. He looked at them and saw numerous markings spreading all over him. His whole body was covered in green and red flames. Xiong Chia looked at him in a daze, staring at his bare torso, as he stood on the back of the dragon Qilin. The flames had nearly covered his whole body. Mother said that the higher the status of the abandoned person, the more flames will appear on their body. Normal abandoned people will only receive one flame marking at the heart of their brows, but Big Brother has flame markings all over his body. The little girl was stunned. What is his status? Could this be the effect of the fire? Qin Mu pondered over it and said, I touched the flames just now and they had entered my body to form these strange markings. Fatty dragon, retreat back to the snowy mountains. The dragon Qilin didn't understand what he meant, but he still carefully retreated out of the flaming desert. Back under the snowy mountains, Qin Mu looked at the mirrors and saw that the markings were gradually dimming. When he reached the foot of one mountain, the markings vanished completely. While keeping the mirrors at hand, he put on his shirt back. He said indifferently, Fatty dragon, continue on your way. It's fine. These markings should be just to identify abandoned people. The dragon Qilin immediately rushed into the flaming desert, and the markings on Qin Mu's body started to appear again. They grew frantically, but the youth didn't pay attention to them. The sight of the flaming desert was unique. There were flaming tornadoes everywhere, and they whooshed as they swept by the group. The dragon Qilin's nature was that of fire, so he loved to control fire the most and often rushed happily into the tornadoes. However, Qin Mu was nearly burned to death once and ordered for him to stop. The dragon Qilin saw his face turning black from the burns and jumped back in shock. Only then did he obediently start to hurry to their destination. The fire had no effect on him, but it possessed lethal power against Qin Mu. Big brother, there's an oasis in front. Xiong Chia said excitedly. There's water there. Astonished, Qin Mu cried out. There is water in such a place. He then saw the oasis in the flaming desert. Numerous olive trees were growing beside a beautiful lake, and there were also a few snow-white goatskin tents beside it. The dragon Qilin immediately ran over to the side of the lake. Qin Mu jumped down and said, Visitors have come from afar, sorry for disturbing everyone. One of the goatskin tents opened up and a youth walked out with a smile, You're not disturbing. I am currently cultivating unique spells and need someone as a sacrifice. It's you, brat. The expression of the youth changed drastically, and Qin Mu pulled out his sword without any explanation. 8,000 swords flew up together and drowned out the youth. That youth's reaction was extremely fast. He moved back the instant Qin Mu executed his swords, falling back into the goatskin tent. It was cut to pieces when countless sword lights shot out into it from all directions. Suddenly, they paused and tunneled into the ground like a long dragon, for the youth had escaped into the ground after falling back into the tent. Bang! About a mile away in the flaming desert, 8,000 flying swords flew out of the underground cave, chasing after the figure of the youth. He leaped into midair and opened up his arms. 2 golden wings spread out on his back and flapped frantically, causing countless yellow golden feather swords to face Qin Mu's sword lights. With the continuous collisions and sparks in midair, flying swords flew in all directions. Qin Mu's hand grabbed forward, and the randomly flying swords suddenly paused in midair. They converged towards the center and clanked as they collided, transforming into a 3 yards metal ball that was whirling non-stop. It was none other than Qin Mu's sword pellet. It was huge and whirled non-stop in midair. The feel of metal was abundant. A fire tornado swept over and swept up the youth, swallowing him whole. Yet the next moment, he appeared above that tornado and stood there while laughing. Cult Master Qin. Human Emperor Qin. You really can't stop haunting me. Do you think I'll be afraid of your body covered whole by a tattoo? Receive one of my bow. That youth was none other than Pang Gong So, and he stood atop the tornado, paying his respects by bowing towards Qin Mu. When he bowed, a sinister sacrificial altar appeared behind him and a devil god showed up on it, ready to bow and pay his respects as well. Qin Mu's 5 fingers spread open, and he pressed down with them. The ground under the fire tornado instantly warped, the sand and rocks swirling and swallowing everything above them into the ground. Pang Gong So's footing became unstable and his bow became misshapen. When he raised his head, he saw that the sword pellet had separated at some point and the 8,000 swords were spinning crazily. They were like a huge mouth that was covered with sword tips that came with an open mouth toward him. It was spiral sword form, stabilizing mountains and rivers with a finger. 4 continuous explosions rang out within Pang Gong So's body as his divine treasures opened and his magic power rose exponentially. When his left hand pointed toward the ground, a fire lotus bloomed underground, stabilizing it. His right hand pointed toward the huge mouth that was going to swallow him, and flaming lotuses instantly appeared in it as well. Those flaming lotuses collided with the spiraling swords and blocked Qin Mu's move. Pang Gong So revealed a scornful look. Cult Master Qin, I'm already on 7 stars realm. I'm a realm higher, which might as well be a heaven higher. I can totally overwhelm you. Do you feel my magic power making you despair? Suddenly, the fire lotuses shattered and Pang Gong So was astonished. His magic power doesn't lose out to mine at all. I'm already on 7 stars realm. How could he have polished his magic power to such a level? As an existence that had reincarnated over 10 times, Pang Gong So might not dare to say he was number 1 in polishing his magic power on the same realm, but he was certainly one of the best in the world. There were not many people who could surpass the density of his magic power in the same realm. Even when Qin Mu did it, he hadn't surpassed him by much. He had fought with Qin Mu numerous times in the past. The first time, both of their realms were the same. They were both on 6 directions realm, and their magic power had been nearly the same. Qin Mu relied on the transformation of paths, skills, and divine arts to lead him along the way, adapting accordingly. This let him take the decisive opportunity, which was why Pang Gong So had lost. However, when they had faced off the second time, he had raised his cultivation realm faster than Qin Mu, and his magic power had also surpassed him by much. Qin Mu had then relied on his sickeningly huge sword pellet, and 8,000 swords to be a match for him. Yet now, he was already a divine arts practitioner of 7 stars realm, while Qin Mu was still on 6 directions realm. By right, Qin Mu should have been overwhelmed by his magic power, unable to even come close to breaking his divine art. Even though it was just their first face-off right then, Qin Mu's flying swords had still destroyed Pang Gong So's divine art. He might have relied on the sharpness of his flying swords, but it also meant that Qin Mu's magic power wasn't much inferior to his. When Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor had attacked Roland's Golden Palace, Pang Gong So had known that it was finished when Khan Rwandi surrendered. That was why hadn't waited for Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor to attack and escaped, leaving behind all the great shamans, shaman kings, and even the Grand Shaman who didn't know he had escaped under the cover of the night. Roland's Golden Palace was wiped out and Grand Shaman was also slain by Imperial Preceptor. Pang Gong So pondered about the painful experience and knew that he could no longer stay in the prairie. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor would definitely order his subordinates to search everywhere for his trail, so he decided to hide in the flaming desert. He was a reincarnated person, so his cultivation advanced at a crazy speed. He had an advantage that no other divine arts practitioner could rival, and by hiding in the oasis, he could capture the people of West Earth at night and bring them over for cultivation. Like that, in just half a year, he broke through into Seven Stars realm. He planned to recover the cultivation of his previous lives and fight his way back to eternal peace to take revenge. When that time came, who would be able to block his bow? Yet meeting Qin Mu made him somewhat flustered. He had raised his cultivation to Seven Stars realm and should have overwhelmed him, but the other's abilities seemed to have advanced by leaps and bounds as well. He actually didn't manage to gain any advantage. Pang Gong So, you have already fallen behind times. Qin Mu suddenly rushed out of the oasis into the flaming desert, and his body moved horizontally as he crossed a mile. It looked like he was controlling the wind. The muscles on his body moved like flood dragons coiling, and his corporeal body was incomparably powerful. You've been hiding here, so you might not know. After your Roland's golden palace was wiped out, the paths, skills, and divine arts have advanced rapidly. We can already cultivate the primordial spirit on the Six Directions realm, so aside from a divine treasure in Seven Stars realm, there's literally no difference. In terms of cultivation realm, you aren't any higher than me. Pang Gong So's body, which was like a golden Buddha, collided with Qin Mu. Dragon roars and Buddha voices rang out endlessly, and Pang Gong So's face instantly turned snow white. His arm cracked and broke as he flew backward. This isn't Nine Dragons Monarch technique, he shouted fiercely. Nine Dragon Monarch technique had extremely high attainments of the corporeal body, and was the ultimate art of Emperor Yang Feng. Even though Pang Gong So had not received it, he had exchanged blows with Qin Mu, who used Nine Dragons Monarch technique. Even though it had been powerful then, there was still quite a number of divine techniques that could rival it, so Pang Gong So wasn't the slightest bit afraid of it. However, he suffered a huge loss at that Nine Dragons Monarch technique right then. The moves Qin Mu had executed were extremely overbearing. The strength of his corporeal body was incomparably powerful, as though he was a human-shaped true dragon. When its strength burst forth, his muscles, tendons, and bones were like brute dragons exerting their strength all at once. Facing such brute strength, Pang Gong So's golden Buddha body crumbled and his arm broke. A bone shard stuck out of his elbow. Sword explosion. Qin Mu pressed his palm downwards. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Countless flying swords fell from midair like rain, and sword lights fell forward like a tidal wave raised by an explosion, drowning out Pang Gong So. He endured the sharp pain, and his body sank downwards, escaping into the desert before the sword light could touch him. 8,000 swords landed, and the desert nearly boiled. Between the particles of sand, fine sword lights were shuttling to and fro. Qin Mu landed on the ground and his clothes fluttered. He raised a huge wind to forcefully suppress the flames of the desert. The tip of his foot tapped on the ground, then he raised again. Everywhere he passed, the flames would automatically split to two sides. Several miles away, the desert was boiling. Countless sword lights rushed into the sky, and Qin Mu let out a roar while his vital qi went berserk, rushing forward while staying close to the red-colored sand and rocks. Instantly, there were trails of red sand dragons in the desert. Dozens of them were shuttling to and fro in the red sand, popping in and out. In no time, they came to where the sword light was overflowing into the sky. The power of his divine art suddenly exploded, resulting in a powerful dragon roar which reverberated through the air, and sand being blasted into the air. In the sandstorm, flying swords were flashing while Pang Gong So's figure could be faintly discerned as well. He stood on a huge cauldron which was trembling. Its sound waves materialized and flicked the flying swords away. The huge cauldron suddenly escaped into the ground and left through the sand. Qin Mu quickly gave chase and shouted, "Ching Ching, go fetch some water and hurry over with Fatty Dragon." Bewildered, Xiong Chia said to the dragon Chileen, "Big brother is muddle-headed. He called me Ching Ching. The dragon Qin shook his head. You don't know the ability of that Pang Gong So. If he knows your name, he can kill you by paying his respects to you from 1,000 miles away. So Cult Master didn't call out your real name. It should be because Cult Master doesn't have absolute confidence in killing him. So he asked us to fetch some water and follow after him. Cult Master is an abandoned person, so he can't stay long in the flaming desert. There's also no water vapor in the flaming desert, so he can't use water attribute divine arts as well. Let's quickly fetch some water and hurry after him. Xiongqia understood his words, and was about to fetch the water from the lake when she cried out in astonishment. The dragon Qin immediately went over, and saw that there were white bones all over the lake's bottom. It was hard to count how many corpses had been thrown inside it. Pang Gong So relied on the spirit and soul of other people to cultivate. For that, he had killed countless experts of West Earth and thrown their corpses in the lake. Do we still fetch water? Xiongqia's face was pale white. The dragon Qin bit his tongue and spat a small mouthful of blood into the lake. Its surface instantly churned. Countless soul bugs splashed around the lake, fighting over the blood. The dragon Qin immediately bit onto Xiongqia's collar to lift her up and retreated, preventing any water from touching either of them both. This lake has been poisoned and can't be drunk. The dragon Qin placed the little girl down a bit farther away, and said, "Climb to the tip of my tail, sit down properly and lean back." He lowered his tail, and Xiongqia immediately climbed on. She sat down properly, not forgetting to lean back. The dragon Qin raised his tail, and Xiongqia slid down from the tip to his back. The little girl squealed in delight. One more time. We can't play anymore. Grab tight onto the manner around my neck. I'm going to chase after Cult Master, the dragon Qin instructed. Xiongqia climbed over to his long manner, and her tiny hands grabbed tightly onto two tufts. Suddenly, a dragon's scale rose on the side and covered her. The dragon Qin did it since he was afraid it would be easy for her to slip off if he ran too fast. Before, there was Qin Mu protecting Xiongqia, so the dragon Qin didn't need to worry, but when Qin Mu wasn't around, he had to care for Xiongqia himself. The dragon Qin also used magic power to form a barrier around Xiongqia, and gave her a warning to be careful before taking the first step to rush after Qin Mu. His speed gradually grew faster, as he didn't dare to suddenly increase his speed. He ran faster and faster, soon surpassing the speed of sound. The flaming dunes passed by them like flickering lights and shadows. Fatty dragon, your speed is even faster than last time. Xiongqia cried out. Why didn't you run so fast in front of Big Brother? What does a little girl like you know? If you want a horse to run faster, you need to feed the horse well. The dragon Qin was pleased with himself and smiled. I purposely run slower so Cult Master will give me better spirit pills in hopes of me getting faster from good food. If I slowly increase my speed, he will know it's the effect of the better spirit pills. In that way he will work harder to improve the spirit pills. On top of that, he will still take care of how the pills feel in my mouth. If I suddenly raise my speed drastically, he won't improve the spirit pills, and will just feed me the substandard product of fire element divine vitality pills. Don't tell Cult Master that though, or he will become lazy. Xiongqia didn't understand what he was saying, but she still nodded repeatedly. The dragon Qin ran for a long while, but he still didn't catch up to Qin Mu. On the way, he was aghast when he saw the sight of the exploded dunes. It was evident that Qin Mu and Pang Gong So had clashed nearby. Not long later, the dragon Qin saw a dune in the distance transforming into a red sand giant, which punched the ground ruthlessly. That's the technique of my West Earth's true heaven palace. Xiongqia cried out in astonishment. Is that Big Brother? The dragon Qin shook his head, a little worried. Cult Master doesn't have magic power that is that dense. Let's take a detour. He took a roundabout way, and couldn't help being stunned when he saw the sand giant. This video will end here.